What's up, old knights? How's everything going? Don't you love it? Ms. Knight and I have owned a bunch of Harleys between us. This will be like our third Sportster, although Ms. Knight doesn't ride anymore. We're an older couple, and a lot of folks our age give it up, and here I am getting back into it. Oh, what's this in the road? Probably harmless, but no point taking a chance, is there? Could fling a piece of that stick up and knock a chip out of the paint. That'd totally be a PETA, wouldn't it? A lot of guys with particularly the Iron 883s that I follow on YouTube go in for aftermarket exhaust, and I'll tell you, the thing that led me to this bike was actually a 2014 Superlow, which was black and had about $1,000 worth of accessories on it. Pretty good buy. It was like under $7,000 and had like 1,700 miles on it. I mean, good Lord, that thing was not even broken in. But Ms. Knight thought it looked a little demonic or something, and she really liked this one when she saw it. It had a nice white color, so I guess that kind of makes me the White Knight or something. I don't know. It took me 3 bikes to get to my first Harley Davidson. I had a Yamaha DS6B, and a lot of people, when they hear that designation, they say, oh, what was that? It was a 250 street bike, and I think they only made it for a year or two. It was kind of pretty. It's red, had chrome fenders, and for a 250 it had some pretty good get up and go. And then after a year, I decided to get something I thought I really wanted, and that was a Beamer. It was actually a R60/5. Wonderful bike for long trips. I remember when I was taking a ride from the northeast to the southeast, I set my own personal best record. Now, understand, I'm no iron butt. 757 miles. But I gotta tell you, with that standard saddle, it's like I think I was gonna look for a crane to get me up and off of it. The next year I had a saddle made by a fella named Des Berg. It was I think, keep in mind this is early 70s dollars, I think it was about $110, and you had to supply the seat pan. but let me tell you, that sure was the seat for a long ride. Sarah saw me agonize over the next several months, or early on in our marriage, and came to realize how much that meant to me. And we decided we'd go ahead to buy another one. And yes, I looked at Beamers again. The price had gone up considerably since I bought mine in '71, but she said, you kind of get this like gleam in your eye every time you talk about Harleys. So, to make a long story short, I did buy one. 75 FX1200 Superglide. I think the Superglide had its ultimate revenge when I was just taking it out for a little spin one day after work. And, about 4 miles from our house, the red light came on. Of course, I thought, oh, this can't be good, and because that's the oil light. So I pulled over to the side, and there was oil all over the back end of the engine. And so I managed to push it 2 miles back, and then I managed to get a hold of a friend of mine that had a trailer, and we got it the rest of the way home, and I stored it for the rest of the season and through the winter. And then the next spring, I took it to the Harley dealer, and I was kind of worried because, you know, back in this day, the Harley warranties were only like 6 months, and this was like, you know, approaching a year. But when they got it apart, they realized that this is really our fault. Apparently, there was a little key, a little steel key that somebody had dropped down into the oil pump area, and it had swirled around and cut things apart until finally the oil pump failed. And well, with a dry sump system, the pressure builds up to a certain amount, and then it looks for a way to get out of there, and the out of there happened to be the chain oiler, which I was kind of glad it had, given the result, as messy as it was. But anyway, they fixed it up, and it was fine. I rode it for 3 years. It was a bike that had those old Bendix carburetors, which probably work fine for snowmobiles and constant speed engines, but it was really not very good for a motorcycle. And so I decided to replace it with a Mikuni. And just comparing the input path with the original Bendix manifold, it looked like the thing had been polished with a wood rasp. And you looked at the one for the Mikuni, and it was like, holy cow, it was like mirror finish. Beautiful, beautiful piece of work. Famous California rolling stop there, I guess. Back on the 4-lane. Well, anyway, that Mikuni, wow. The bike started easier, ran smoother, got better mileage. Woo! Kind of more like the Harleys are today. Because I think with the old Bendix carburetor, that darn thing only got about 32, 34 miles to the gallon. And I don't remember what it did with the new Mikuni, but I'm guessing it was probably somewhere in the 40s. Still not that great. I mean, hell, our Harleys of the newer vintage with the Evolution engines, they're knocking down 50 miles to the gallon easy. And I had a FXSTC, which is that kind of chopper-esque looking motorcycle with a solid back wheel and a laced 21-inch rim. Without a doubt, the most beautiful motorcycle I ever owned. But kind of hard riding. I mean, you know, you go over an expansion strip and that soft tail suspension would send a jolt right up my spine. But I rode that thing one day, it must have been about a 2-3 hour ride each way, and I swear, I think I got about 60 miles to the gallon on that trip. And that thing just sung at about 60 miles an hour, smooth as silk, which is pretty good for a rigid mounted engine. I loved that bike. But it was really the riding comfort that made me decide that I needed something else. And that's when I tried it. I traded the FXSTC for a 85th anniversary electric glide. That was one sweet machine. I owned it for 10 years, and then it got to me, you know, me being a small person and all, it got to be a little too much jockeying the thing around in the garage. So I decided to go do something really wild, and I got a Buell. It was a Buell X1W, the white lightning one, and it was white. And for Christmas that year, I got myself an aftermarket air cleaner, an Vance & Hines exhaust, and man, that thing was bad. With that solo saddle, it was about as comfortable as a 2x10. But anyway, I used to ride it up to this place where we'd go for breakfast. A big group of us would gather together, and I'd go up this street in Chicago, and I'd get it in second gear, and at a certain RPM I'd see how many car alarms I could set off. So the bike wasn't the only thing that was a bad boy. The night was and that was a white motorcycle also, so the kind of white night thing kind of fits again. But I thought that maybe I wanted something just a little bit more civilized, and I traded it for an S3. That's kind of more of a sport touring bike. And I said, okay, I'm going to stay away from the loud muffler. I'm going to leave the Midas on it. That's what they called those big cans they had on them. And see how that goes. And it was really a super running bike. Never let me down. Fast as all get out. Not that I'm a really fast rider, but man, just, you know, like when you have to do a sudden pass, you know, you didn't even have to shift down, and that thing would take off like a scared cat. A lot of fun.